If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Hey guys, this is Matt Seidel, and you're listening to Keepin' It Strong Style.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin' It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin' It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out in Barrio the Frogs. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the ASA podcast on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we'll review the first 3 nights of World Tag League and cover all this news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Please support our show by subscribing and following the Social Suplex Podcast Network and Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the network's podcasts over at socialsuplex.com. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. And we are streaming live right now on patreon.com/KI Strong Style for IWGP subscribers. If you want to watch our show live or listen without ads, sign up at patreon.com/KI Strong Style. And we did have episode 2012 Ace of the Universe drop this past weekend as well. So get on that $5 tier, the grade 1 tier. That's how you get access to Tanahashi Ace of the Universe.
Yeah, thank you for making sure to make mention of that, Jeremy. I excuse me. I don't know what's going on tonight. My life is very blessed. Things are going well, but I'm just my anxiety, which I'm not even really an anxious person per se. But I've just been feeling like stressed. And so before we did the show, I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a few minutes, relax, go over my notes, head down to the hot tub. Me and my wife, we have a condo and we are lucky enough to have one of those like community pool hot tub sort of deals. So went to the hot tub, sort of relaxed, still feeling it a bit. But if you hear me winded, that's because I was in the hot tub for like 25 minutes, literally just before the show started here. I cut it a little close, so I've got to start in about 15 minutes after bell time. But that most indie shows start a little late, so
especially Florida indie shows.
Florida indie shows, this is par for the course. So feeling good. With that being said, yes, 2012 Tanahashi Ace of the Universe is out. What's funny? I started recording on Sunday. I started recording 2013, and I got up to Invasion Attack, which spoiler alert, that is going to be one of the review matches of that week's episode. And I didn't love the audio. I've been waking up super early to do this, and like my voice was just like all over the place, cracking. And I was like, you know what? I I'm gonna do this shit over. So tomorrow morning, I will be recording 2013 Tanahashi Ace of the Universe, and I'm almost done with 2014. I've already got the viewing done. Most of the notes are there. And I should have that out midweek, and I'm hoping to have 2015 done by the end of this coming week. So we're kicking it into high gear, trying to knock out 2 to 3 episodes a week for the remainder of the year, kind of to make up for some of that lag that took place earlier in the year. And based on that schedule, I should be done before we head to Tokyo to watch Tanahashi's retirement show. So looking forward to that. And we got some, we're not ready to make any formal announcements, but, this time of the year is one of the busiest for us. We've got FOH draft coming up here in just a few short weeks. Our grading period for 2025 for the calendar year for New Japan is done. So the awards are, Jeremy, you reached out to me this week and asked for some help. And I've literally been so busy. I haven't even really read or opened that message. I don't know what you were conveying to me.
Well, yeah, I did some work on the awards Saturday morning and getting some nominees in some of the categories. I like to try to focus on like the wrestler based one because I feel like the match of the year categories always take a while to kind of nail those down. But I feel like, especially this year, some of like your wrestler of the year, junior of the year, Carl Gotch, I feel like a lot of those are pretty easy to put together. So I've worked on it Saturday morning, put together some nominees in some of those categories. So I just wanted you to take a look and get your input on those.
You just want me to be involved.
Yeah.
It's like when my wife is decorating and she's decided on what we're getting, but she comes to me and asks me what my opinion is on it just to kind of make me feel like I'm involved in that decision. But whatever it is that she says we're getting, like, that's what we're getting, so.
No, I mean, these are not locked in. I mean, I think most of it's pretty good, but, there might be, you might argue, hey, David Finlay doesn't need to be on Wrestle of the Year. And so if that's your argument, then we'll talk it out. And then, we can take him off if possible.
We'll take a look. It's interesting that you mentioned that because I do think there's a borderline case there. I think I'd have to examine it a bit more, but, no tournament wins, some big wins, some big losses, kind of an iffy year for one David Finlay. But
yeah, some of the award committee also were kind of a little not favorable on Finlay potentially being on Wrestle of the Year bout as well. So
yeah, we had compiled a committee this year. Almost all of them, well, actually all of them listened to this show. So the idea had been as each show progresses to just throw any nominee. And I think they did a good job early on giving us some nominees. But as New Japan started to, some of the engagement on that started to fall apart. And, this might sound like me criticizing the group, but the reality is, Jeremy, it's hard for us to point any fingers because this is what you and I do every year on our own.
Yeah.
Anyways, so... the tradition continues.
Yeah, over the years. I mean, the first year or two was we had the ballot out the week of Thanksgiving. Like the ballot used to go out. We used to be send it out, getting ready for voting. We'd do the award show in December. Mm-hmm. Yeah, every year after that is just a little bit later. Yeah.
Well, we'll get to work on that. It is a very busy time. We've got we haven't formally decided, but we do have some developments going on for the Patreon and membership status, and we're thinking about reworking some of the metrics and how to make the video more available and get some activity in these chats a little bit more up to snuff. So be on the lookout for that. I think we've got some exciting announcements that people are gonna like. So that's really cool. World Tag League is in the swing of things. We're going to review that on today's episode, but you would think that it would be us being like, oh, World Tag League, the joke, but it's actually World Tag League kind of fucking rocks. So
yeah, there's some good stuff on here.
So we got that going.
Yeah, and before we jump into that, and speaking of live video, I was live on One Nation Radio yesterday to review AEW Full Gear. So the live replay is up on the Social Suplex YouTube channel. There's been some clips up there as well. And also his audio is up on the network feed and the One Nation radio feed. So if you are a AEW sicko, you can go ahead and check that out.
Yeah, I don't know why I wasn't invited on that show. And then Rich told me that, it was y'all only.
Us.
Yeah, so I was like, that's a reverse racism there, whatever. But in other news, I was you know what? I forgot to shout this out. I should have shouted this out. A few weeks back, go into the archives. I did do a review of the wrestling match of the week for Chris Things on the here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We reviewed the G1 match between one Hiroshi Tanahashi and Yuya Uemura. And I thought that was a really good episode. It's a few weeks back, so some of the comments that I made and because we were speculating on the future of Tanahashi's retirement, some of that was poignant, some of that was wrong. But I thought that was a really good episode that you guys could check out. And then this week I did audio with one Sir Sam from the AEW Match Guide podcast here on Social Suplex. And he invited me on to review the G1 28 finals between Hiroshi Tanahashi and Kota Ibushi.
Great match.
It's probably the best match of his career, or, top 5. But it was funny. He reached out to me via DM and was like, hey man, I'm thinking about doing this thing. I don't want to step on your toes. What are your thoughts? And I was like, get the fuck out of here, bro. Only I'm allowed to talk about Tanahashi on this network. And then I was like, I'm just joking. And then he was like, do you want to come be on the show? And I've never done any audio with Sam before. We were supposed to, I was supposed to do one of those episodes for the Match Guide when they first launched, and we just, kind of fizzled out for that first season. I never got a chance to getting around to it. But yeah, if you want to hear me and Sir Sam do a pretty in-depth analysis and historical, just review of that match, it's well worth your time to check it out. I thought it was very good audio, and that is also available live on the AEW Match Guide channel as well as Social Suplex's channel.
Yeah, go ahead and check that out. Also, today, if you're listening, when we drop this, the audio version, if you're watching live, the last couple days here coming up for Chopped Teas. I believe the last day is the 25th, which is Tuesday. So, here's your absolute last chance. If you want to grab, one of these yellow Social Suplex shirts, any of the Keeping It Strong Style stuff, any of the shows from the network, go over to Chopped Teas, chop-tees.com/Social Suplex. Grab your merch, get that last order in before that store shuts down, and we figure out where our next merch store will be.
You and I haven't talked about it. I meant to get around to doing this, but me and Rich have had some conversations about potential avenues that we could explore. We've also had, you and I, ever since we stopped manning our social media and gave the reins over to social media manager Emily, who, by the way, is doing a fantastic job.
Yes.
You and I have just become terrible at responding when we get messages on there. So we did have someone reach out to us regarding a collaboration effort as it pertains to future merch for this show. So that's another thing to kind of keep your eyes and ears peeled for. Looking forward to 2026, a lot of big things on the way. Is there anything else that we haven't brought up that's like a upcoming development, things that people need to, keep their, be aware of?
When we go to Japan, we are trying to plan some kind of meet up, sounding like day of Wrestle Kingdom before the show, and it's gonna be almost like your podcast row of folks. It's gonna be us, JCass, Speaking of Strong Style,
and We Work Stiff.
Yeah. So
not everybody from those shows will be there. It's going to be Joel from Super JCast. It's going to be Jeremy Finestone from Speaking of Strong Style. And I believe it's just Josh from We Work Stiff. I didn't get that fully confirmed, but I think that's the case. But yeah, we've done these meetups many, many times. I know a few of those guys have done some meetups in the past as well. Typically, when we hold ours, what that really pertains, it's nothing formal, nothing crazy. It's just we go to a bar, we hang out for a few hours, we chat, we drink, we talk bullshit, and have a great time just connecting with New Japan fans and wrestling fans in the area. And that's the plan right now. We've got a pub already picked out. It's right there in the Tokyo Dome City Center. So it's just a stone's throw, a walk away from the dome. And we don't have a formal name for this event yet. We don't have, we haven't usually we put together a little
graphic and stuff. And we'll probably do that. But, a lot of these restaurants, I don't know how it works in Japan, but, here in the States, when you say you're going to throw something, they want to, nickel and dime you for having a group and having it be organized. So we just show up places. And
the pub that we're looking at is literally just a pub. It doesn't seem to be too formal. We talked to a few people that have visited it and said it's like your traditional standard pub. So we're going to get the word out there. We're going to do something. I think we're kind of I know Joel wanted to do this first, and then I kind of brought it up to the rest of those guys. But we were going to do something like this regardless of the idea Joel brought to us, but we're happy to have everybody involved. And it sounds like we're kind of taking the lead on organizing this, but we're going to find a time that works for everybody. And we're going to get some actual infographics. We'll get it sent over to those guys too. And all the different listenerships can kind of hang out, have a drink. Yeah. And, it's going to be a good time. It's always a good time when we do these. So if you're in Tokyo for Wrestle Kingdom, you don't want to miss that.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I think that's it. I think we can jump into this World Tag League.
No, we can't. No, we can't. There's one last thing, Jeremy. Two things. I'm sorry. Big shout out and congratulations to All Things Elite here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. They just had their 300th episode. We are proud of everybody's efforts on this network. And when I say we, I mean I'm speaking for us, but I'm the least. If there are if you, me, Rich, and James are the four pillars, the EVPs, I'm the junior EVP. I have the least authority and the least responsibility. But I'm going to speak for all of us. We're proud of what everybody does, the efforts they make, and what they put out there. And, Austin and Floyd, they've been going strong with All Things Elite for a long, long time. They just hit their 300th episode. And I'm going to send them a little video or a audio message. They asked us to do that before the show, and I didn't realize the time frame, so I missed out on that.
Yeah, I missed it too. I'm going to send him one as well. But yeah, I know Floyd listens to us every week, so shout out Floyd to 300 episodes of All Things Elite. And Floyd, he had to go through a couple different co-hosts, but he stuck with it. And him and Austin have been a great team, and so yeah, they've been doing a great job. Covering AEW for the network, and yeah, it's been awesome to see that show grow.
Yeah, and if you are a listener of All Things Elite as well as this show, send them a kind message, give them a congratulations, maybe send them a little audio clip. I'm sure that they would really appreciate. It doesn't have to be anything super formal or fancy or high audio quality, but they would really love to hear from you guys. And, we do it for you guys. So it's always nice to hear positive feedback. Yeah. The last thing I wanted to say, it's 11/24. We are 3 days away from Thanksgiving. So Jeremy, in the spirit of Thanksgiving, I think it's springing this on you. But what are you thankful for going into this year's Thanksgiving as it pertains to personal life, but even New Japan related and wrestling related that we can send out to the listenership here?
Let's see. Personal, it's really easy. Super thankful just for a child being on the way. It's been a difficult journey. And so just happy everything's going well there and things are progressing well. So just super thankful for that. As far as New Japan related, I think I am just thankful. I know that obviously we had our criticisms of the booking this year, but I am still thankful that New Japan is still one of the best in-ring wrestling promotions. The storylines might not be hitting, there might be not full houses. There might be questionable decisions and calls. But when you sit down and watch a New Japan show, yeah, there'll be some Taguchi haha, there'll be some House of Torture run-ins. But when it comes down to it, I still think it has the best in-ring wrestling. And I do appreciate the style and presentation of New Japan.
Yeah. And I'm thankful. I don't have a baby on the way. That's not what I'm thankful for. But I don't have that, but I'm very blessed. I've got a wonderful wife that supports me, and our dog Ziggy, and we're gearing up for our first wedding anniversary here in early December, so that's very exciting. And I'm so thankful to be able to attend my very first ever trip to Japan in the Tokyo Dome to see Hiroshi Tanahashi's retirement. I'm thankful for everybody that not only listens and supports the Patreon and the Tanahashi series, but everybody that's contributed to that. By the end of it all, we're gonna I'll have a full list of people to thank for collaborating and supporting my research in that, and that it's been quite a few people. And then I'm just thankful for you guys, the listenership, for sticking with us through the good and the bad. And, I think recently there was a comment, someone said something like, the reason they stopped watching New Japan wasn't because of, I don't even know where this comment came from, but you shared it with me, and it was like, they didn't stop watching because New Japan got shitty. They stopped watching because they hated my coverage of it on this show.
It was on YouTube,
which I was like, damn, like I've got a lot of power over this person's life and their fandom. But, for everybody that does listen and appreciates the work we do and, offers us support and, rocks with this show, I appreciate you guys for listening. We would do this even if nobody was listening, but there are a lot of people listening. It always is very mind boggling. And, we appreciate the support for real.
Yeah, definitely. Especially as we, come up, I think, on our 8-year anniversary in the next week or so. It's been an awesome journey, and super thankful for all support over the years.
All right, let's talk World Tag League.
Let's jump into World Tag League. So we had night 1 on November 20th from Korakuen Hall. Before we had the first official match, we had 1/3 of the never openweight 6-man champions coming out to the ring, Yo, and essentially was trying to establish a never 6-man title match for the Tokyo Dome, and not wanting to leave the ring until a match was being made official. He had to get hauled off by Young Lions, kicking and screaming, but they did go ahead and make a match official. So we're going to have the never openweight 6-man tag team champions, Yo, Master Wato, and Toru Yano, defend their titles in a multi-team Rambo at the Tokyo Dome. So this came, again, after Yo's protest at the beginning of this show. The Rambo match has a tornado stipulation where there are no tags, and eliminations can occur via pinfall, submission, or being thrown over the top rope. Once one member from a team is out, the whole team is eliminated. And we had a question from Def Triangle 720. Thoughts on the gauntlet for the 6-man titles? Do you think New Japan calls in some favors and have some surprise teams in the mix?
I would love for there to be some surprise teams. I would love for some of these guys that are here on the World Tag League tour to stick around when they don't normally. For instance, a team I'm thinking of right off the top of my head is like Monster Sauce, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to be slotted to do anything of any particular importance for Wrestle Kingdom. So why not get them in that gauntlet? And here's a cool idea. And I'm only inspired to say this because I saw it on social media, but they recently met up with Killer Elite Squad member Davey Boy Smith. Now I know that he's a former Triple Crown champion and he's contracted to All Japan, but like, how cool would it be if those 3 guys walked down the ramp together? Like, how imposing would that sort of
Killer Elite Sauce,
Killer Elite Sauce, baby. So, there's going to be a lot of people doing fake jobs. So a lot of people protected. Hopefully there are surprises. I'm a little disappointed in the fact that we're not getting the more recent traditional Rambo that resulted in a, in the February title defense challenger, but that's okay. At the same time, it's much better than the KOPW Rambos that we were getting for several years. So it's going to be a little better than that. And I also think that this is a bit motivating for some of the, I've noticed how good World Tag League is. And there's a conspiratorial part of me that thinks, what if these guys are like, I don't want to be in that Rambo, so I better have a really good showing during the tag league to make my case to get into an actual match come Wrestle King. And I don't know if like the card is already decided or if these guys have already been notified what they're doing, but I just hope that they haven't. And they're like, fuck, I better do something so I don't wind up in that Rambo, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I expect it to be, Geek City. I don't really expect there to be a ton of surprises or big names. Hopefully that they will bring some surprises, but I feel like this is your thank you to get people on the card and get them featured on this sold out house. And, you're going to get your Yujiro, Chase, and Fale team. You're going to get, all these kind of lower card teams in there, and it's going to be what it is. But
I don't know, Jeremy. We've seen plenty of Rambos in the past where guys that you're like, they should be doing something on Wrestle Kingdom, but they wind up not doing anything. And I'm not talking about some of these names I'm going to list, people are going to be like, well, they're old now. And I'm talking about like 4 or 5 years ago, not like now, but like half a decade ago, like Ishii, Goto, Shingo, Minoru Suzuki, people like that, where you're like, they should be doing something, but they wind up in the Rambo. I remember Zack Sabre Jr. being in a Rambo one time. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, if these rumors are true that, there's going to be less matches on the card, it does seem like they might end up squeezing some of those Reiwa guys and some of the, upper mid card guys that you would normally see on a, like say a Dominion or a King of Pro Wrestling or, what have you type of show. They might get saddled in that, in that 6-man. And you know what? Who knows? I'm not saying that the 6-man division is ever going to be anything major, but it might create some semblance of new teams and maybe some, that division doesn't need to be anything super deep, but if you have 3 to 4 teams, that's a whole year's worth of booking there. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see how many teams are actually in that Rambo, because I mean, each team is obviously 3 guys, but I mean, if you do 10 teams, that's 30 dudes,
Yeah. I don't know if it'll be that much. And in the past, they have done like the never 6-man gauntlets where usually it's like, 4, maybe 5 teams, I think traditionally that have been in those. So I'm assuming maybe the same range, but I guess we'll see.
I also kind of assume that with so many bigger matches or like later in the evening and them wanting to, even if it is a situation where it's like, this rumor about them having to conserve time due to the TV schedule, we've kind of heard that might not necessarily be fully the case. Like they might just have the 3 or 4 matches on TV and the rest on New Japan World or Japanese pay-per-view. That's fine. But if they're giving time to those matches, that's still going to necessitate them to have a lesser number of matches on the card overall if they want to feed more time to those matches, which means there might not be that many more slots left for Wrestle Kingdom. And we might be expecting to see quite a few guys in this Rambo.
Yeah. Well, let's go through the card here, kind of run through the undercard results, and then we'll focus on the tag league stuff. Can I say one thing? Yeah.
As we go through, obviously we're not going to review the undercards, but have you been watching the undercards?
I watched it night 1. I did not for 2 and 3.
So I have been, and they have been really good. Like the work has been, I'm not saying like, there's any recommended matches on the undercard. It's not like that, but they're doing a really good job setting up the next night's matches. So, each undercard is usually a preview for whatever the next night's block matches are going to be. Mm-hmm. And they're giving a lot of the young young lions opportunities to shine in these matches and get reps in, and some of the other like JAY and some of the other like Hartley Jackson, people like that. And they're just really breezy, really fun, and they've been really good. And that's not always the case on these tournament cards. Oftentimes the preview matches are kind of just, throwaway road to style matches. And these ones seem to be, there is a bit more of a motivation going into them, which I appreciate.
Yeah. So Cork and show opened up. We had Ren Narita, Sonata, and Katamaru defeating Monster Sauce and Zane J. Then we had the TMDK team, Hartley Jackson, Roy Oiwa, Zack Sabre Jr., defeating United Empire team, Callan Newman, Great Okan, and Jacob Austin Young. Then we had Shomakato, Shota Umino, and Yuya Uemura defeating ELP, Tanahashi, and Katsuya Murashima, which Murashima had some incredible near falls over Umino towards the end of that match. Really, really close. I thought he was going to pull some kind of crazy upset there. So he looked really good in that matchup there. Then we had the War Dogs team of Finley and Gato teaming up with Hiromu to defeat the Knockout Brothers and Daiki Nagai. Again, this was a really good one too. A lot of heat between Yuto Ice and Hiromu Takahashi, which carried over into the B block match on that night, which we'll get to. But there was some really great heat here, and it got really personal, really heated between Yuto Ice and Hiromu.
Another thing I'm noticing is, and this isn't always the case, and maybe I haven't looked at the future cards, but you kind of notice which matches are getting the top billing of the preview matches. And I don't know if that just corresponds with how they're slotted for the next, maybe that's the case. Maybe, they're just corresponding with how they're going to be slotted the following evening. But there are certain teams that tend to always be towards the top, and there are certain teams that always tend to be at the bottom of these preview tags. And I don't know if that's a little bit telling as to where the tournament might be heading. So far, it seems to be playing out that way.
Yeah. I think definitely something to keep our eyes on as we move forward in the tournament. So on this evening, the first tournament match from the A block, we had Bolton Oleg and Toriano defeating El Desperado and Tsuji Ishikawa 9 minutes 56 seconds. And last week Bolton and Yano was a team we talked about where it's like, yeah, maybe you wouldn't expect them to go far, but then you look back at their point total last year and just kind of seeing how things are laid out. It's like this is a team that could actually be pretty strong, especially with the semifinal format with two teams advancing. This is a team that can sneak in, and here we go. Night one, picking up a big win over Despi and Tsuji.
Yeah, pretty much what I've been seeing so far from this, I want to call them chaos, but they're not chaos, but from this Yano and Oleg Bolton team, it's been pretty par for the course. I like Oleg Bolton a lot. I don't know if so far in the two matches I've seen from him that I feel like he's shining here necessarily, but he's going in there, he's playing his part, he's doing the big power moves, and then, Yano, he's mucking it up and doing all the Yano tropes that we're used to seeing. So it is what it is. But like you and I pointed out, they might go further than you would automatically assume just looking at the field. And that kind of played itself out here. Desperado and Shuji Ishikawa is one of the more very interesting teams. It's funny how many people I'm hearing that have said they've never seen Shuji Ishikawa. And, far be it from me to be I'm not the deepest Puro head ever, but I mean, I've seen my fair share of Shuji Ishikawa across All Japan, Big Japan, and DDT. And it's funny because now he's getting this opportunity in front of a New Japan crowd, and people are really blown away. And it's like, he's carrying his age with him, but he's still huge. He still is a really smart worker and, pretty silky smooth. And I like this team with him and Despe. The one question I have, Jeremy, and correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't there a report that came out this week that Despe has a broken back?
Yeah, I saw something with like an X-ray picture of him with a broken back. His back is taped up. He's been taping the back up for all these matches, and they have mentioned it on commentary as well of his back being hurt. So I don't know how serious the back injury is, if it's one of these things kind of, like Shawn Michaels back in the day, where he worked a while before he took time off to get surgery. So maybe he's gonna work this tour, work Wrestle Kingdom, and maybe heal up after that.
He's not working like a guy that's got a broken back. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, he's taking big bumps, big back body drops on the back. People are obviously targeting the back because he has it all taped up. So if it is broken or hurt or whatever it is, he's not really, showing it. He's definitely, still performing at a Despy level.
It is interesting to see a 6'5" heavyweight of Japanese descent in New Japan with his size. He's like basically around the same size as like Hartley Jackson, but you see him next to Oleg and he's like towering over him. You see him next to Shingo and he's towering over him, and like these are big bruiser type dudes. And yeah, Shuji's that dude,
Yeah, and I did
he's a dying breed.
Yeah, I did like the finish of this match where you had Yano rolling up Tsuji Ishikawa with Despy kind of being on top of Ishikawa, and so I thought it was a kind of a creative Yano roll-up finish there, so kind of using his momentum and Despy momentum to keep Ishikawa down, and Bolton and Yano getting the win there.
Yeah, I agree. So they pick up their first win.
Yep, and then following that, we had my man Satoshi Kojima and Taichi defeating Bishamon. First night upset here, defeating the former 3-time World Tag League winners in 12 minutes and 30 seconds.
I thought that this was pretty good action. Everybody that's involved in the match is, really great workers, but I sort of expected Kojima's age and limitations to kind of slow him down here, and it's still there. It's still apparent, but they're doing a really good job kind of covering some of those limitations here and putting him in at the right points in the matches where he's able to do the things that are expected of him, where he's still very good.
Mm-hmm.
But it's Taichi kind of doing the heavy lifting in these matches. And considering how good Bishamon is and the talent of Taichi, I thought that they outperformed the expectations going into this match. And like you said, this is the first really big upset of the tournament here. And earlier in the year, there had been some, it wasn't like a major story, but there was an underlying issue that existed between Taichi and Kojima. They started kind of teaming together earlier in the year, and there was distrust from Kojima towards Taichi. And this was, in the fallout of the Just Five Guys group kind of disbanding and joining Hantai. So it is interesting to see how that has kind of come full circle to where, obviously they didn't plan on this. They intended for this to be Ishii. Thanks, Tony Khan. I'm going to keep making that joke, but yeah, they pick up a big win here. I don't expect them to go far in the tournament, honestly, but you like to see surprises and keep things fresh in tournaments like this. And this was a big win for them.
Yeah. I got to wonder how much of the Taichi Ishii booking are they keeping? Because obviously with Taichi and Ishii being former champions, you got to imagine that they were probably going to be booked pretty strong going into this thing, especially again with two teams advancing. A Taichi Ishii team could be strong to advance in a scenario like that, and I'm not sure if they'll go all the way with Taichi and Kojima, but maybe they are getting the booking that was already planned for Taichi and Ishii.
It's definitely possible. At the same time, I don't know how strong Ishii and Taichi were going to be booked. Even though they were champions, they were very much presented as like the underdog, the unexpected champions, and then they dropped the titles almost immediately. So I don't know if they were going to be given super strong booking, but you could be right here. They could be going further than you'd expect in a situation like this. And New Japan does still tend to really respect Kojima. Yeah, he'll do a job here and there, but he's still booked fairly strongly throughout the year.
Yeah. Normally a team with Young Lions, also Young Lion eats to fall, or he'll face a Young Lion and get the win. So they do try to protect him throughout the year when possible. And so we had Taichi here hitting the Black Mephisto on Yoshihashi. to get the win. And speaking of Yoshihashi, this man had some fresh new white and red gear. Looked great coming down to the ring there. So yeah, Bishamon looking good, but Kojima and Taichi getting the win here. And Chris Charlton, great job on commentary, also alluding back to Kojima-gun and those guys jumping Kojima to eventually, form Suzuki-gun and their whole history there. Also, great job kind of played into the commentary there.
Mm-hmm.
So then we go to the main event where we had two Bullet Club unaffiliated teams facing off. We had the War Dragons of Drilla Maloney and Shingo Takagi defeating Gabe Kidd and Yota Tsuji in 17 minutes and 1 second.
Well, I don't know that this team was the War Dragons when this match occurred. That name
that happened at the main event after this the post-match promo.
And all the same, Shingo seems a little apprehensive about embracing the name War Dragons, but
well, on today's show, that's how they were officially announced.
That is how they were announced, but he also didn't seem super high or gung-ho about the name. So it's probably similar to the situation I pointed out with my wife, where it's like, how do you like that name? I'm not so sure about it. Well, we're the War Dragons.
They did a fan vote.
But this match was just outstanding. There was so much like heat and competitive edge. I wouldn't say outright hatred, but it started kind of like bridging on the hatred. And
yeah, they were brawling throughout the crowd. Everything okay over there?
Yeah.
This is what you get when you watch the live version, folks. But yeah, this match rocked. They were brawling throughout the crowd. You would expect a lot of the issues between Gabe and Shingo and Drilla and Tsuji, but it was Drilla and Gabe who were going nose to nose. Tsuji and Shingo going nose to nose. Those guys are really, the faction mates were really, going at each other.
Yeah, my dog was like, he likes to go under the desk and under my desk chair when I'm recording to try and get my attention. Like I barely stepped back, and I don't know. I guess I hit one of his little fragile feet. I don't know if you guys heard that yelp. That's he seems to be okay though. I feel so bad right now. But yeah, these guys, not only was it very heated and competitive, but both teams were really kind of embracing their slotting as a tag team. Like they were working really well together, kind of coming up with some innovative offense and moves together, and treating this like a pretty serious contest, which that's what you want in a big main event match like this. But there's always been that question, like, what are we going to get when it comes to unaffiliated War Dogs, especially considering how funny haha a lot of the team ups were during the Super Junior Tag League. And that, as far as these two teams go, that is not the case. I guess you could have probably guessed that, considering, that it's Shingo, Drilla, Gabe, and Tsuji, but they went, right at it. And one thing I really liked is in the early goings, it wasn't Drilla against Tsuji and then Gabe against Shingo. It was the faction members brawling with each other on the outside through the building, and really hitting each other,
hitting Shingo's head against the east sign in Corkin Hall.
Yeah, and this crowd was hot, and there were plenty of double downs, like huge dramatic moments where both teams were down and they kept getting up and hitting. I mean, down the stretch, it became like a lot of like huge bombs and really great near falls against one another. And this was just really, really exciting. And the one thing about it, though, and this isn't a negative, the match was fantastic, but looking on paper, these are probably the two most high performing for wrestlers in the block. And so night one, you always expect the main event of a night one in a Corkin Hall to be a really good main event. Mm-hmm. But I'm feeling like in A block, there's going to be some good action, but this is like already maybe the zenith. I don't know if
the peak.
I don't know if any other matchup in A block is going to be able to compete with what these four guys were able to do here.
I mean, I feel like these guys against Bishamon end up being pretty great if they're main events.
Mm.
Yeah, but outside of that, there's not many other teams that are probably going to have as high caliber as these guys had.
Yeah, and this was good enough. I think already we're looking at our first, 2026 tag team match of the year contender just on night one here, and that's a really good sign. I thought the show overall was pretty good, but they really capped it off in entertaining style here. And I love this new finisher that Shingo and Drilla have developed with one another.
Yeah, a double made in Japan. So that was a great double team maneuver, hitting that on Gabe Kidd and getting the win. Kind of we speculated last week, we felt like Gabe's going to be the one to eat the pins when it comes to this him and Tsuji team. So you got to keep Tsuji strong going into the Tokyo Dome. So we're already starting to see that here. But yeah, awesome main event. Yeah, great double team finisher from Drilla and Shingo. Post-match promo was very entertaining, where they decided that their team name, Shingo wanted to call them the Kita Brothers, and Drilla was like, nah, let's do War Dragons. Like, I'm a war dog, you're the Rampage Dragon. And Shingo was like, no. And then they did the fan votes, and the fans decidedly liked War Dragons better than the Kita Brothers, and so they're going by War Dragons.
I don't know if you noticed, but you did. Maybe it was a Freudian slip, but you did skip over House of Torture versus
House of Torture,
Finley and Hiromu.
Yep. Actually, it was a House of Torture versus House of Torture. So it's Fale and Fale and Evil against Chase and Yujiro. Totally skipped over that one, but it was your House of Torture kind of schmoz. They were following up on the heat from the Purge show they did, the Purge Night show where Yujiro lost to Saya Kamatani, and Evil was like, oh, you lost to her, you need to be purged. And so there was heat with Evil and Yujiro, and so they followed up on that.
We didn't even really talk about that show upcoming on last week's episode, and we're not going to review it. I didn't watch it, but some people really like that. These produce shows, a lot of them are just really not for me personally, but that's fine. With that being said, here's my little hot take. Even though there was some gaga and there was some comedy in this match that was, fine. I thought there was more wrestling in this match than I actually expected there to be. And it didn't overstay its welcome. This was pretty short. And I thought they had their working boots on. I thought it was not as terrible as you would have expected. Obviously, I'm kind of grading on a curve just considering what the matchup is, but it could have been so much worse than it actually ended up being. Now, I've seen on Cage Match, it's got like a 2 something. I thought that's not really, honestly, I feel like that's probably just like fatigue, House of Torture fatigue, and people are just not into them here in the States, which makes sense. But I didn't think this was bad at all.
Yeah, I mean, it was fine. I didn't think it was like anything to write home about, but it could have been way worse.
Right. And with that being the case, because it wasn't way worse, I'm kind of like, yeah, it's fine,
Yeah, so Evil gets the Darkness Scorpion on Yujiro, and so Evil and Fale picked up their first 2 points. We did have a question about the main event from Will's Thing 1988. What's the end game for the unaffiliated and War Dogs? Anything you guys have heard, or maybe personal opinion? Are some War Dogs leaving NJPW, and is this how they will fix some faction holes if those members are leaving?
I don't know. I haven't heard anything. I don't know if you have, Jeremy, but that could very well be the case. I do think that there are members of the War Dogs that are on their way out. I did, however, I saw a Wrestling Observer newsletter report that came out, I think yesterday or today, stating that there are confirmed, they didn't name names, but they said there are confirmed individuals who have contracts that re-signed last year that go all the way through till 2026. So traditionally, we always assume that these guys are signed up for 1 year, and come January, it's going to be, negotiation contract season. But that might not be the case for everybody. There might be some individual, and we've heard stories in the past of guys like Kota Ibushi, Jay White, Will Ospreay, who've been signed for multiple years in the past. So, and even like Tanahashi, Okada. So who knows who they're referring to, but if there is in fact a policy where some desired members are signed for longer, there might not be as many exoduses as we'd imagine. All the same, this is just my own personal speculation. I think that Gabe's on his way out. I think that Clark Connors is on his way out. And maybe this is something intended to kind of bridge that gap between the two groups. But my end game, the one that I keep booking, is I think come New Year's Dash, we're going to see a split up, and that's going to lead to something at New Beginning, where some of these guys will be facing off against one another. Any thoughts, Jeremy? What do you think is kind of going on here?
Yeah, and again, I haven't heard anything. I know there's been, rumors about, Clark Connors, his whole promo say, I'm going home now, or something like that. And so, there has been speculation that there's going to be a lot of foreigners leaving when their contracts are up. And then that Fightful story dropped about, contracts not all being up in January of 2026. I don't know what the end game is. It does seem like they're not long to be together. I feel like Finley is a guy that's always kind of scheming and has a plan. And I like some of the combinations that have come out of this thing. Drilla and Shingo and Gabe and Tsuji and even Finley and Hiromu have been fun to watch. But yeah, I don't know what the end game here is. I mean, it makes sense what you're saying. Like, it's going to lead to their feuding, coming out of New Year's Dash. I mean, I could definitely see, especially just between like Finley and Hiromu, how their teaming has been going. I could see something coming down the cracks. And even like, Gabe and Tsuji, I mean, they've been working great so far, but obviously there's a very heated personal rivalry, and Tsuji has what Gabe wants, a title, the main event, all this stuff. So there's definitely some personal animosity there that could eventually boil over. And I think that's probably does make the most sense, is for them to end up just feuding again. Or if people are leaving, then yeah, maybe you do make a super faction of whoever's staying, and then who's ever leaving gets booted out.
The one thing though is, when you saw these two groups stand across one another, where was it? That was at King of Pro Wrestling?
Yeah, I think so.
And, from a storytelling standpoint, I didn't think it made a lot of sense. I still kind of don't. So it's not like I'm coming around on this and accepting it. But at the same time, they're obviously the way LIJ and Bullet Club have always been presented, vastly different. The characters, vastly different. The aesthetics, vastly different. But seeing these teams interact in this tournament, and this is a little bit different than what we were seeing in Super Junior Tag League, there are some similarities in terms of like their motivation and their temperance and how they wrestle that allows them to gel a little better than I was anticipating during this tournament. And from that standpoint, maybe it doesn't, I'm kind of like, it's not the craziest thing in the world. And we've been asking for shakeups for a long time. And I'm not saying like that I'm hoping that this leads to a super team of these two groups that persists forever. But I am kind of hoping that it leads to a further shakeup and splintering of some sort, where new, fresh teams can be born out of what's happening here. And I'm wondering if that, combined with the United Empire's kind of dissolution and destruction, might lead to something interesting here.
Yeah, I mean, hope so. But I'm loving these teams, and a great main event, great way to close off Cork and Hall. So we move on to night 2, November 22nd. Show opened up. We had House of Torture, Owens, Kanemaru, and Nitro defeating Bishamon and Tatsuya Matsumoto. Then we had Morishima, Bolton, and Yano defeating Yasuda, Kojima, and Taichi. Then Daiki Nagai, Drilla, and Shingo defeating Despe, Shomakato, and Tsuji Ishikawa. Then we had Gabe Kid, Gato, and Tsuji defeating Dick Togo, Don Fale, and Evil. And then we got into the B block action. The first B block night, we had Monster Sauce, Alex Zane, and Lance Archer defeating Ren, Narita, and Sonata.
So I think we've kind of got our answer here for what a Ren, Narita, and Sonata team throughout this World Tag League is going to look like, and it's pretty much what you would have expected, especially with the guitar shots, the low blows from Sonata, yada, yada. But, Monster Sauce, this wasn't a great match by any means, but they continue to just be awesome.
Yeah.
And, so for that reason, I didn't mind this match. I know some people weren't like super high on it, but I liked the idea too that like, what's wrong with me? I'm so tired. Lance Archer is a heel in AEW, but they're not carrying over too much of the Don Callis family, continuance of the character. He's kind of just New Japan Lance Archer, which is also, I don't know if you noticed the first night he clocked Aaron Wolf.
Yeah.
Which is fucking funny. And I almost wonder, like, did he know that Aaron Wolf is Aaron Wolf, or did he? Because it was very clear when he jumped on commentary the next night that he's not following a lot of New Japan storylines.
Right, yeah.
So he's just like, oh, a young lion.
Come here, bow.
And they're like, got to the back. They're like, that's our future ace. What are you doing, dude? He's like, he's not an ace right now. He's got that red and white shirt on. But I really love what they're doing together as a team, and I love the finish, like that blackout, flip senton finish that they've got working for them. So
yeah, they're calling it the blackout sauce. So it's essentially Lance Archer doing the blackout to Zayn onto opponent, which was Sonata here in this match. And I feel like Lance Archer comes alive when he's in Japan. He seemed a lot more enthusiastic, very fired up to be back in Japan, back on this tour and teaming with Alex Zane. So I thought, he looked great. Zane's always fun to watch. He's a guy I wish they would bring around more often. He always gets over with the Japanese crowd. He had that Japan Taco Bell deal a couple years ago. And, he seems to be a very entertaining guy that I feel like he's a guy that should be, coming in more for some of these other tours.
I agree.
So, yeah, Monster Sauce, they pick up their first one here over House of Torture. And then following that, we had Oiwa and Zack Sabre Jr. defeating the United Empire team of Callum Newman and Great O'Khan in 13 minutes and 3 seconds.
I thought that this was pretty good action here. Obviously, we've seen this kind of more bitter, frustrated character from Callum Newman, where he's not happy with the losing streak that United Empire has been on for quite a while now, and he's a little frustrated with his position in the company and how things are going, and that is starting to make its way and be presented in the matches. So it is something to keep your eye on as far as like what's going to happen with him and O'Khan. I don't know if they're telegraphing things a little too much, but I like it. I like that something is happening here. I just hope it's not like the time when TJP like became the captain and they're telling this story on commentary and they're telling it in the ring, and then it ultimately leads to basically nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that this is leading to something, but it's very clear that at one point in time the company had high aspirations for Callum Newman. I don't know if that's still currently the case, but at least there's a little bit more potential silver lining to that situation versus like when it was TJP. I like TJP, but you knew the company wasn't going to push a junior, a guy that's been with them for, on off and on since the early 2000s. Like that is just not something they were ever going to do,
Right. Yeah. So I'm liking what's going on with Callum Newman, liking the new edge and attitude that we've mentioned the past couple of weeks. And based on the promos backstage and kind of his attitude, it does seem like there is something coming for United Empire, which, finally give us something this year, kind of sink our teeth in with that faction. And so it was Great O'Khan in the fall here, getting a jackknife pin combo by Oiwa and Zack. So Newman not the one getting the pin, kind of continuing to carry the frustration backstage and wanting to, rebuild United Empire and use the bricks to kind of tear things apart. And so, I think that's going to be a very developing story happening over the tournament. And then we have Oiwa and Zach getting a big win, one of the teams we mentioned last week as a favorite in this tournament, especially with two teams advancing. And we did have a question from Will Sing 1988. What's going on with the United Empire? They seem lost at this point. I think Kira or TJP should be de facto leader. Maybe spice them up with a new member or two.
Well, we've gotten this question a lot for a long time now, and far be it from me to say, oh, this is where they're going with the story. I don't actually know, and obviously I have just as many questions as you guys do. I was literally just speculating, like, I hope it's leading to something, which means I don't know where it's going. I'm curious if United Empire as an IP and a brand for New Japan, if there's much more juice left to squeeze in that fruit, or whether that this might be just a zombie faction that needs to die so that something new can be born out of it. And I almost feel like that is more promising and exciting, because the United Empire brand is just so intrinsically linked with Will Ospreay.
Yeah, that faction was built for him.
Yeah, and I mean, there's some groups that have been able to switch leaders over time, like Chaos did and things like that. But, Suzuki-gun was built around Suzuki. Like, no one else was going to take over that. Same thing here is, like, I don't feel like anybody can step into the shoes of Will Ospreay unless the company is gung-ho about them and is ready to book them in that particular position. And since I don't see anybody in the group that can do that, including, I like Callum Newman. I think he's got a lot of upside, a lot of promise, but I don't think he's ready for the spot. I think the better way to go is, like, you break this group up. You probably break up what's going on with War Dogs. I mean, Bullet Clubs basically should also be done at this point. And it's high time with the amount of talent that is in Hantai just kind of stored up. There's so many guys in Hantai. There's so many guys in unaffiliated War Dogs and United Empire. You have plenty of building blocks to do new and fresh, exciting things. And they don't struggle that bad to reinvent and do these types of things in, like, Dragon Gate and in Stardom. But New Japan, they're so hesitant and so apprehensive to make changes, but now's the time to start doing that. It's been a long time coming that they've needed to start doing that.
Yeah, I think a new faction kind of being born out of the United Empire would be the way to go. I think all those guys just need a fresh direction. Newman, Ocon, Akira, Jacob Austin Young. I feel like Akira is a great junior babyface, so I wouldn't really want to see him go heel. And I feel like Ocon has a great crowd connection as well. So, I mean, you can have Newman just turn on all those guys and have him, build something new with some other guys from, potentially Hantai or unaffiliated. And then you kind of have the other guys kind of find their path or join other factions. But yeah, I think there is a more creative and compelling story than just Newman takes over the United Empire and now he's just the leader of that faction.
If Newman were to quote unquote take over, right, then to me, what that would spell out is I'm the Carl Anderson in this situation, and I need my AJ Styles to come along and carry this group because I'm not ready to be that guy. And that's the truth. I know a lot of people really love Great Ocon and everything like that, but that ship has kind of sailed. Maybe once upon a time there could have been time to capitalize on it. It's gone. And Callum Newman is not ready today, November 24th, 2025, to be the leader in a push. Now, if they did, like, let's say they did make him the leader, it's going to fail because they don't have the faith or the creative to basically let him headline big shows across the year. He's not Jay White and he's not Will Ospreay or Kenny Omega. They're not going to do that right now. And I really, and this is not belittling any of those guys. It's just, I'm looking at it from the company's perspective. They don't see anybody, including Francesco Akira, as being capable or ready to be pushed in that manner. So the answer is, if you want to keep United Empire in a way that actually has relevancy, they need an outside leader to come in and take over, or they need to just dissolve and do fresh, new, exciting things with the remaining members. And we saw them break up like just 5 guys, and the follow-up and payoff to that was so weak. Like, they did not do a good job paying off the Sonata, Oiwa, Taichi feuds that kind of came out of that. Mm-hmm. And that's what they need. They need heat. They need fresh, young blood, exciting stuff.
Yeah. So following that, we had the team of Shota Umino and Yuya Uemura defeating the NJPW World TV Champion El Phantasmo and Hiroshi Tanahashi. So big matchup here, and we mentioned last week we got to keep our eyes out on people who are going to be on the opposite side of ELP to see if we'll get a TV title match at the Dome. And it was Umino, the one here that pinned Phantasmo. So maybe we get a Phantasmo Umino TV match at the Dome. We'll have to see who else pins ELP throughout this thing.
Yeah, tell me why when I logged into my New Japan World the other day to watch this show, there was just one file that had been watched, and it was this match.
I don't know. I have my own login, so it wasn't me.
Well, I gave the login to Emily quite a while back, and it goes to figure that the Umino Uemura ELP Tanahashi match is the one match of the 2 nights that was fully watched. So, I think she's still holding out some hope on the ELP Umino thing there, or at least wanted to clock in and see what kind of interactions existed for her boys. But it is funny, Jeremy. I'm looking at Cage Match, and they got this thing sitting at a 6. I thought that this might have even edged out the main event as the best match of the evening. I was surprised at how good the match was overall. I didn't know how I would feel about ELP and Tanahashi as a tag team. We already know Umino and Uemura are great, and there still seems to be some questions like what we've speculated about them going into this tournament. Where is this headed? And I don't think we're anywhere closer to getting a clear-cut answer on that. I'm not seeing any teases of, friction, but I'm also not seeing like we are in this, like we are, they're not, it's not like when Bishamon got together where they started wearing the matching gear and everything. Like, it's not like that. So we're still a little ambiguous, but they're clearly a great tag team.
Yeah, well, the interesting wrinkle was what happened post-match where Umino's, yelling at Tanahashi, leave Hantai to me, and kind of bow to Tanahashi, but Tanahashi kind of bows towards Uemura. So it's like, is that the kind of catalyst that's going to cause these guys to break up? That, Tanahashi
love that
is trusting Yuya, where Umino wants, also to be in that spot.
I would love that. So yeah, maybe that will be the catalyst to something, but I still didn't see the facials on them where it was like Umino was like, I know we want our wrestling to be nuanced. You don't want it to be so heavy handed like a community theater like it is in WWE. But sometimes you want to be guided a little more than this and not have to, put all the puzzle pieces together and do headcanon. But hopefully that's a breadcrumb that will pay off somewhere down the line.
Yeah, but really, really good tag team match. Umino and Uemura working really well together, and I thought ELP and Tanahashi looked really well together too. So again, it'll be interesting.
I saw that this match had a 6 on Cage Match, which I was like a 3-star match. I didn't think this was a 3-star match.
That's ELP hate, bro.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, I was like, I don't know, man. Like, I thought this was like maybe the second best match of the night, maybe close to edging out the main. I don't know. It was very good. So I'm like, that's a little crazy to me.
Yeah. Well, then we jump to the main event. We had David Finlay and Hiromu Takahashi defeating the current IWGP Tag Team Champions, the Knockout Brothers, Oscar and Yuto Ice, in 16 minutes, 18 seconds. And they followed up on the preview tag where Hiromu and Yuto had a lot of heat, and there were some great strike exchanges between them. And, Finlay got to test his new additions a little bit here too as well. And Yuto was not backing down from Finley. Oscar looked great as well. So this was a really fun tag main event. And Finley and Hiromu have that dynamic where Finley just kind of throws Hiromu into the opponents. He does this. He makes Hiromu do a dive by powerbombing him over the ropes on the guys.
Yeah, he did. He did some of the. I don't even want to call them double team moves because it's not like Hiromu's like necessarily going willingly, but he started using him as a weapon during the preview tags the night before, and then that trend continued here. And actually, he even started a little bit on the undercard the first night, but he expanded on it the second night. I like that. And I also like this is the one iteration right now that we're seeing of Bullet unaffiliated War Dogs where like they're working well together, but they're not like in sync cohesive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which makes sense considering both of their temperaments and characters and everything like that. But it was unfortunate this year. We didn't get Hiromu and Despe in the G1, but we get to see them both here in the World Tag League, and they've been very fresh and exciting. So that's really good. And the Knockout Brothers, what more praise can we laud on them than we've already done before? But this was pretty exciting because in a sense, it is a little bit of an upset just considering David Finley and Hiromu are big stars, but they've never really teamed together in a meaningful way. And they're the first team to defeat the Knockout Brothers in a tag team match since they returned from excursion. So I don't imagine that this is a team that's going to turn around, especially since the interfactional aspect of it. I don't think you're going to see Dave Finley being like, I want the IWGP tag titles in the dome. That's not happening. But I also liked that they beat them clean, but it was not like he hit him with the
Into
Dominator
Oblivion,
or the Into Oblivion or the Irish Curse or whatever, and knock that dude out or whoever and beat him. They beat him using wrestling skills and
they did a great job protecting Yuto. So at the end, it was Yuto and Hiromu, and Finley got a blind tag, and Yuto hit his Cruella kick and was going for the pin, and then Finley jumped in Oklahoma roll 1, 2, 3 and kind of caught Yuto off guard.
Yeah, and I thought that the second night here, I didn't think anything got to the same level as the main event of the A block on the opening night. But across the board, there was 3 matches here that I thought were really great. And then, Monster Sauce House of Torture. I mean, Monster Sauce is just so much fucking fun. I thought the B block night mopped A block night the first night.
Yeah, I mean, I think going forward, B block's probably going to end up being the better of the nights between both blocks throughout this tournament. So that was a main event there, and post-match, we did have a little funny angle here where Finley's cutting the speech, and Hiromu's just flattened out on the mat, and Finley's asking Hiromu's all these questions, and all he can do is and then Finley will be like, "Oh, Hiromu said this." So a little more funny dynamic there between Finley and Hiromu. So then we go into night 3 of World Tag League. This was November 24th this morning. And show opened up, we had Newman, Ocon, and Jacob Austin Young defeating Monster Sauce and Zane J. Then we had ELP, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Jado defeating the War Dogs of Finley and Gato and Hiromu Takahashi. Then we had Ren Narita, Sanada, and Kanemaru defeating the Knockout Brothers and Daiki Nagai. Then we had TMDK's Hartley Jackson, Oiwa, and Zack Sabre Jr. defeating Shomakato, Shota Umino, and Yuya Uemura. And then we got into World Tag League action here from the A block. So the first tournament match of this evening, we had the Bishamon team of Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi defeating the House of Torture team, Chase Owens and Yujiro Takahashi, in 10 minutes and 29 seconds. And there wasn't much to this match. Surprise, surprise, with Yujiro and Chase being in there. But it was just them, trying to do House of Torture antics, but ultimately not being able to topple the former 3-time World Tag League winners in Bishamon here, and trying to remember who got the fall here. So it was Goto. They hit the Shoto on Chase Owens and got the pinfall victory there.
Good riddance. I thought that they did a good job here, allowing Chase Owens and Yujiro to be a little bit more competitive than you would expect, but that makes sense. They're heels, Bishamon having to work from underneath a little bit, some good hot tag action from Yoshihashi. One of those Chase Owens C triggers was a really close near fall where I was like, oh, fuck. It actually made me think, I was like, oh man, Bishamon might go on the Gato Classic, lose the
0-3.
Yeah. But they picked up the big win here, which is what should be happening. They shouldn't be, World Tag League or not, they should not be jobbing to Chase Owens and Yujiro. So,
right.
Just over 10 minutes, they pick up the win and, get two points on the block or on the board.
Yeah. Then following that, we had Bolton Oleg and Toru Yano getting 2 more points by defeating Satoshi Kojima and Taichi in 11 minutes and 1 second.
Wasn't necessarily blown away with this one. Not that you would expect to be, but it was fine, but this was a match where when you look at Oleg Bolton and Toru Yano as a team and you think of all the tropes that are probably going to persist and exist there, and then you look at Taichi and Kojima and you look at the limitations that exist there, this was a match that combined those two things into one, and it was like, this was more, to me, more of an undercard New Japan Road style match than maybe a lot of the preview tag matches that we've seen here. So not that everything on the World Tag League needs to be classic or throw away. And I mean, Oleg Bolton and Yano, they pick up another 4 points. There's a part of me that kind of does want them to push Taichi and Kojima, at least just for the sake of Taichi. But, there's not much I could say there. They leaned very heavily into the Yano tropes, and Oleg Bolton did his power shit. And what you would imagine this match would look like on paper in an 11-minute time limit, they did exactly what you would expect them to do there.
Yeah, we had Bolton picking up the win with the kamikaze over Kojima, and then post-match, we had Taichi staring down Kojima, so it seems to be, a little bit of friction once again with these guys when they're not winning. There are issues. When they win, they're fine. So I wonder if that story will continue to develop throughout the tournament.
I like it when guys have issues no matter what happens, like Suzuki and Nagata.
Yes.
I don't fucking like you even when we win.
And something else to mention, like you mentioned earlier, Lance Archer was on commentary for this night, and I thought he was great because he, like you mentioned, it's clear he's not keeping up with everything that's going on. So it's essentially like Charlton kind of filling him in while doing commentary, which is very interesting kind of style to do. And then Archer also, he gets to add it on his own color as well, and he was very entertaining. So I really enjoyed him and Charlton on commentary.
Night one, we had Zane J, right?
Alex Zane.
And then, you know what? I've been doing that. I keep calling Alex Zane and Zane J because they sound kind of similar. Like, I've been mixing them up.
And they've been teaming together.
They have, yeah, in those opening tag matches. So we had Alex Zane the first night. Second night, we had Drilla.
Yes, and Drilla, I love Drilla on commentary as well.
I think Drilla is very good. But of the three of them, I thought Lance Archer was the best, even though he is just not plugged in or clued into what the fuck is going on at all.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, is that right? Well, yeah, tell me more about that.
Yeah, like he was like, Chase Owens is in the house of torture.
So yeah, Archer did great on commentary. So then after that semi-main event, we had El Desperado and Tsuji Ishikawa getting their first 2 points by defeating the War Dragons, Drilla Maloney and Shingo Takagi in 14:52.
For me, the highlight of this match was seeing Shuji Ishikawa and Shingo Takagi just trade chops, you know?
Yeah, that was great. I was also really impressed with Drilla getting Tsuji up on his shoulders. He was going for the Drilla Killer. That was his whole goal in this match, was to hit him with the Drilla Killer, but Despy made the save there.
Yeah, when I said earlier that I felt like Shuji was silky smooth, obviously he's a little still rough around the edges, but like in situations like this, like that dude he knows how to post, you know what I mean? Like he went up like it was nothing. And I mean, obviously taking nothing away from Drilla, he's strong as an ox, but like that's a 285, 6'5" dude, you know what I mean? And it was really, bro, there was a certain part of me that wanted to see him drop him on his dome, see what that looked like.
Yeah, hold this.
Yeah.
Oh man. But yeah, they end up getting the win here. Despy was able to make the save from the Drilla Killer, and it was Tsuji Ishikawa hitting his giant slam on Drilla Maloney to get the win.
I thought that this was up to this point. Well, actually, for the whole night, I thought this was the best match of the evening.
Yeah, and I thought they made Drill look good towards the end. Like Tsuji was hitting him with a bunch of stuff, and he kept kicking out, and then finally he hit his finish on him towards the end there.
I know that they've pushed Drilla this year, and he's like, won some major matches against both Shingo as well as Sonata. So it's no surprise, but they're really making him look strong in this tournament. And he has come leaps and bounds and just acclimating to the New Japan house style and progressing. He's always been a very skilled wrestler, but there's always that learning curve of like integrating into the style of New Japan's pro wrestling versus like what he was doing on like the indie UK scene. And he's a guy that gets it.
Yeah. I mean, you look back at his NXT UK stuff, and yeah, he just leaps and bounds from what he was back then.
I don't know that like right now, today, can I count on Drilla Maloney in a singles match to go out there and give me a bona fide blow away classic? I don't know that I could totally say that, but a couple years ago when he first started kind of like, I remember like the match with Naito, and it was like, you could count on Drilla for a solid 3-star match, like nothing egregious, it's going to be good. And he's going to get a guy up for a Drilla Killer, and that's about it. And it was like, we were kind of opining at the time, or at least I was, where I was like, this guy has the look of a top guy, but he's a good worker, but he doesn't have the house style work that you want. And in the end of November 2025, he is way closer on the spectrum to being a great worker in Japan than being a guy that you can just count out. And I think as he continues to progress, we might not be probably going into next year. They're going to give him some opportunities. I don't know that we're not that far off from that guy actually being a player.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been super impressed with him this year. And so, yeah, hopefully that push continues and we do see him in some bigger spots. So that takes us to the main event. We had Gabe Kidd and Yota Tsuji defeating Don Fale and Evil in 1358. So there was a lot of follow-up from, Evil knocking Tsuji out of the G1. So some follow-up there. A similar situation where Fale had Tsuji up in the bad luck fall position, but Gabe made the save, and you had Gabe and Tsuji kind of having to outmaneuver all the antics there. And then they hit their the War Blaster, which was Gabe Kidd's rebound lariat and Tsuji doing a Gene Blaster at the same time onto Fale. And Fale did a great job bumping for that. And so they did that double team combo on Fale to get the win there.
I'm not going to say go out of your way and watch this. It was, in my opinion, the worst main event of the 3 evenings. But with that being said, again, I'm kind of grading on the House of Torture curve here. And I thought it was kind of good, like, were there, House of Torture shenanigans? Absolutely. Was I super enthralled by the brawling in the audience? No, it was just your standard road to these guys. They're just walking through the crowd, they're brawling, whatever. But the in-ring work, once they got back to the ring, pretty good. Nothing to really complain about. And then down the stretch, it got very exciting. And this is one of those things where it's like, we can complain about House of Torture and well deserved. I'm not like trying to jump on the other side and be like, you guys don't get it. You know, it's not like that. But every now and again, because of how much terrible shit they have, it sometimes sets you up for a situation where you just want to see the good guys overcome. And that's what was kind of happening here. Like you wanted to see them outsmart the bad guys. And keep in mind too, this is another thing, is like we are living in an age of exposure where we get to see these Road to style shows that like in years past wouldn't have been broadcast on TV. They wouldn't be on Samurai TV or TV Acai. They wouldn't be available on Nico or you know, Ustream.
Yeah.
But now we get to see all of them. And essentially this was a house show style main event. And the crowd was they weren't hot for everything on this show, but they were hot for this match. And they were excited to see, you know, Tsuji and Gabe overcome the odds. And that's exactly what happened here. So when you look at it in terms of like, if you're comparing this to, you know, for lack of a better example, you and I, we've gone to not a million, but we've been to so many NXT house shows here in the local area. And you know that there, and beyond that, so many local indie shows. And you know that there are like certain matches that are built for the local audience that get them hot for the match, even if it's not like our cup of tea. And that's kind of what this was. Like, it was like, they want to see the good guys overcome the bad guys, and the bad guys try their shenanigans and the shit don't work. And but it almost does a few times. And like the people are like, oh, and the good guys overcome. And that's what happened here. And I like the finish that unaffiliated War Dogs have come up with here. And anytime you can see 2 points being taken away from Fale and Evil, that's a good night.
Yeah, great night. So yeah, I'm enjoying Tsuji and Gabe's, you know, their chemistry so far, and there's been no miscommunications or issues, and they've been kind of gelling well together. And you know, Gabe post-match promo kind of putting over him and Tsuji, the two top guys that are carrying New Japan in the future. And so we got the whole kind of Gabe Kid promo, and you know, Shimihan Ichiban and him doing this whole thing there, and so yeah, so really fun, close to the show there. And yeah, the two top stars, Gabe and Tsuji, getting the win. Very interesting, Gabe getting the pinfall. So you would think that, you know, maybe Tsuji would have gotten the pin, but yeah, they gave Gabe the pin here.
He needed to make good from being, you know, made to eat a pinfall on the previous night of the tour. One other thing here, I don't buy into anything Gabe says at this point in time. He's lost so much credibility with me, unfortunately, just based on what's taken place this year. But yeah, he did the impassioned, you know, we run this shit and all the expletives and blah, 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 blah. So that's cool.
Yeah.
But with that being said, we've gotten through 3 blocks of World Tag League. In the A block, we have Toru Yano and Oleg Boltin as sitting at the top of the block with 4 points. Tied with 2 points, you got Bishamon, you got Despy and Shuji, you got Shingo and Drilla, the War Dragons, and then Taichi and Kojima, Tsuji and Kid, and Evil and Fale all sitting with 2 points. And then at the bottom of the block, you got Yujiro and Chase Owens with 0 points, as they should. And in the B block, you have a 4-way tie between Murder Sauce, TMDK, Umino and Umura, and Finley and Hiromu all sitting at 2 points. And then at the bottom of the block, you've got KOB, Tanahashi and ELP, United Empire, and Sonata and Narita all sitting at 0 points. But keep in mind, that's only been after one night. I'm sure that's going to change here very shortly.
Yeah. So then that goes into the upcoming action for this week. So we got night 4 coming up on Tuesday.
And honestly, Jeremy, we could probably just go through the
tag matches.
Probably just go through the tag matches. I mean, they're all tag matches, but the real ones that matter.
Right. So yeah, Tuesday, November 25th, we got B block in action. So it'll be Monster Sauce versus United Empire, ELP and Tanahashi versus Finley and Hiromu, Knockout Brothers versus Narita and Sonata, and then the main event will be Umino and Uemura versus Oiwa and Zack Sabre.
Yeah, I mean, I think that main event is very exciting. It's four guys that have all we didn't see Uemura and Umino last year, but they've made a mark as a tag team this year just in a very short period of time. And Oiwa and Zach are one of the best tag teams in the entire tournament. They had a good showing on the first night, but we're gonna this is gonna be an opportunity for all of these guys to flex and show out. And we've seen Umino and Zach in opposite sides in tag matches, and they tend to just have much better matches against one another in tag situations than they do when it's singles matches. So I'm really looking forward to that one. Anything else piquing your interest here?
I think that's probably the main one. I think maybe ELP and Tanahashi versus Finlay and Hiromu could be interesting. Again, just, there's TV title ramifications. And also, I think I saw something on Twitter today of Hiromu, I think, trying to get a singles match with Tanahashi in post-match promo. So
everybody wants to wrestle this dude one more time, and they're like, the time is dwindling.
Yeah, so again, kind of curious if they build up anything, maybe Road to Tokyo Dome or something, something like that. But so, I mean, that match should be fun as well.
And then the very next day, 11/26 from Sundai Sun Plaza, we have the following, what is it, A block matches?
Yeah.
I'm messing up your Google Docs. I don't know what I'm doing there. So for World Tag League action, we got Gabe Kidd and Tsuji opening up against House of Tortures, Owens and Yujiro. Second tournament match, we've got Kojima and Taichi against El Desperado and Shuji Ishikawa. Semi-main event, if I can get there, we've got Drilla Maloney and Shingo versus the House of Tortures, Fale and Evil. And then in your main event, we have Oleg Boltin and Toriano versus Bishamon.
Yeah, nothing really stands out here. And again, it's kind of what we're talking about, the difference between A and B block. I really don't see anything here that's going to knock our socks off here. Maybe the Kojima Taichi versus Despi Ishikawa, just with maybe the Taichi and Ishikawa interaction and their strike exchanges, but yeah, outside of that, it's not looking good.
Well, Kojima and Ishikawa are also going to go chop for chop in that match. And then Despi and Taichi, they've got the long history with one another going back to the Suzuki-gun days. So I agree with you. I think that's one that piques my interest. I am wondering if Owens and Yujiro pick up their first win against Kid and Tsuji, but at the same time, you're like, they shouldn't.
Yeah.
But House of Torture, they just overcame the other unaffiliated War Dogs. So I've got a feeling they're going to defeat Drilla and Shingo in the semi-main event.
Yeah, I guess I could see Fale and Evil winning that one, yeah.
I think Bishamon needs this win over Oleg Boltin and Yano.
Yeah, and then you have both those guys at 4.
Mm-hmm. So that's a pretty big one that they're going to need to win there.
Yeah. Well, that takes us over to night 6, which will be Friday, November 28th. B block, we got Finlay and Hiromu versus Monster Sauce, Umino and Uemura versus United Empire, Narita and Sonata versus Oiwa and Sabre, and then the main event, ELP and Tanahashi versus the Knockout Brothers.
My phone is doing crazy stuff when I'm trying to go through this doc. ELP and Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Knockout Brothers. That's one that I'm very interested in just because of the Yuto Ice Tanahashi interactions and everything. And I know we kind of thought that maybe ELP and Tanahashi might do well, and they still might, but I'm guessing that they're probably going to have to kind of come from behind. And I'm guessing that Yuto Ice will probably
pin Tanahashi.
Maybe, but at the same time, like how many pinfalls you want this dude doing on the way, So hard to say. But yeah, I do think Knockout Brothers are going to pick up the win there.
Yeah, they probably will get back on track there, and that'll probably be one of the better matches of the night.
The opening one will be fun. Finlay and Hiromu versus Monster Sauce. That's going to fucking rule.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun.
Just how many innovative kind of creative things that those 4 guys can do. That's going to be a cool match.
And you're going to have Archer and Finley throwing around their partners at each other.
Exactly. So then November 29th, that is going to be 5 days from now. From Mutsu Maeda Arena. This is Saturday. The tournament action is going to start off with Drilla Maloney and Shingo Takagi, the War Dragons versus House of Tortures, Owens and Yujiro. Oh my God, my phone is doing crazy stuff. Let me get back to night 7 here. All right, here we go. Kojima and Taichi will take on the House of Tortures, Fale and Evil. Semi-main event, you got Desperado and Shuji Ishikawa versus Bishamon. And your main event will be Gabe Kidd and Yota Tsuji versus Oleg Boltin and Toriano.
Yeah, so I think on this night, it's probably going to be Bishamon versus Despi and Tsuji Ishikawa as the most intriguing thing there. Should be another very hard-hitting matchup. And then the main event with that positioning kind of makes me feel that, yeah, Gabe and Tsuji are going to beat Chase and Yujiro the previous night. And then you'll have both teams here at 4 points jockeying for a clear leader in the block.
I agree. I think we might see Fale and Evil pick up a win over Kojima and Taichi. And, you would think maybe Owens and Yujiro, keep an eye out for a spoiler, but if my prediction from earlier holds true that Evil and Fale defeat the War Dragons, then they should probably rebound. I don't see them taking back-to-back falls, hopefully. I'm kind of hoping that Owens and Yujiro just lose the whole time.
That'd be great. Yeah, get those bums out of here. So it should be another solid night of action. Then over to night 8, which is Sunday, November 30th. We'll have B block action. Umino and Uemura against Monster Sauce. Knockout Brothers versus United Empire. Finley and Hiromu versus Narita and Sonata. And then the main event will be ELP and Tanahashi versus Oiwa and Zack Sabre Jr.
Yeah, and again, they're putting ELP and Tanahashi in the main event once again. I don't know if that's a sign that like they're going to push them or if it's more of a situation where it's like, in some of these smaller towns, they want to see Tanahashi one final time in a main event. So maybe it's to help with tickets, but that's another interesting one. This might be the final time Tanahashi and Zack wrestle one another. So that there could be something kind of special there. And looking forward to that one.
Yeah, and historically, Zack has been one of Tanahashi's best opponents, and they always have great chemistry together. So it should be something fun seeing them mix it up as well.
The funny thing with that is, yes, that's true. But, during my Tanahashi Ace of the Universe series, I'm doing 2 review matches, strictly 2 every year. And I don't have a single one for Zack Sabre. Not to say that I didn't look. It's one of those things where it's like by the time they started wrestling each other, Tanahashi just also happened to almost exclusively be having 1 or 2 bigger, better matches in each of those calendar years. So it's just the way the cookie crumbled. I really wanted to have an AJ Styles Tanahashi match. Mm-hmm. And the one you'd want to do is from G1 Climax 25, the A block final, but it's in the same year as he wrestles Okada in Wrestle Kingdom 10. And it's the same year where he wrestles the G1 finals against Nakamura. And I'm like, how do I knock one of those off? You know what I mean?
Right,
like,
yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
So yeah, Zack and Tanahashi, I don't review any of their matches during this series. With that being said, Umino and Uemura versus Monster Sauce. That one's probably going to be very good. I'm kind of hoping Monster Sauce beats them.
Yeah, keep them alive.
Yep, I think that. I'm interested in I think Cal Newman and Okan against Knockout Brothers will also be interesting to kind of see what Okan does with those guys, and then Callum in this new attitude. That one might be pretty good.
Yeah. It could end up being pretty hard hitting because Newman has been a little bit more aggressive, and we've seen Yuto. He's always ready to run it, so could be a hard hitting one there.
That is gonna do it. So I mean, so far we've just had 3 nights of tournament action. A break in between each day. It's been pretty easy going, and then over the next week, we've got 5 nights of tournament action. So we've just got 2 nights off, and it's going to be a lot. And we're not going to go night by night come next week. So yeah, but a lot on the docket. Let's get into the news. So it was announced this week that both Konosuke Takeshita and Kazuchika Okada are set for the C2 tournament. So that was something I sort of speculated and thought would happen. And a lot of individuals said that they didn't think that it would make sense for both of them to be in that tournament. And I got to tell you, Jeremy, I'm a little bit hesitant about that idea because Takeshita is, well, number one, both of those guys obviously are headed to the Dome. So you always have to kind of factor in what happens if they were to get hurt. So you have to be extra careful and protected on them. But then there's the other aspect of it. It's like, you kind of want to protect them, but it's a round robin tournament. And I mean, how do you do that?
They beat everybody and go to the finals.
I guess they could do that. Right. And maybe they will do something like that. But at the same time, I feel like in the spirit of a regular round robin tournament, someone's going to do a job somewhere. And I'm wondering if it's something where, people are probably going to get upset because I'm guessing Takeshita's going to do some sort of job unless they find creative ways to get around it, whether it's, the double DQ, the count out,
time limit draw.
Might be someone comes and interferes.
No,
and
C2, there's no interference.
Oh, that's right. Well, yeah, but there's no interference, but they've done things that verge on interference where someone comes out, like the theme music plays. It's not technically an interference, but there's a distraction and someone gets rolled up and a tight's pulled and a foot on the rope and 1, 2, 3. They've done things like that in the C2 before. So, who knows? But it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, considering both of their roles going into the Dome, especially Takeshita being IWGP champion. Something tells me he's going to do a job.
Maybe, and they're getting ready in 30 minutes to announce both blocks, all the participants. So we'll see if they're in the same block or different blocks. But I mean,
they got to be in different blocks.
I think the most sense would be to just have both of them win, and you do the first match at World's End tournament final.
Will that take place before or after Wrestle Kingdom?
Before. That's December 27th, I believe.
Oh, man.
Literally days before Tokyo Dome.
That's like kind of sucks, but kind of awesome. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that. I feel like, I don't know. Do I feel like they're stepping on the toes of New Japan, but at the same time, like they've been building to this for so long, you kind of knew it was headed this way.
Yeah.
I don't know. We kind of covered this story earlier, but yeah, there was a report in Fightful. I heard this story from Observer personally, but maybe they were aggregating.
They aggregated the Fightful story.
Gotcha. So yeah, Fightful originally reported the story about contracts being extended into January of 2026. So, one person who has said to be a prominent American wrestler said they are willing to work in New Japan for a discount, but has never heard back from them. So it is interesting. Some people are getting extended. Some people are not getting callbacks. It's going to be, it's going to be eventful as we head into the next year and see how everything shakes out as far as talent signings go. We did get a question here from Legitimate Cream 1773 says the Observer issued a report. See, I'm not the only one who saw this. Saying that a prominent American wrestler is willing to work NJPW at a discount, but they never heard back. Any hints who that might have been?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't really heard who this potential person could be, but I'm trying to think. Like, also, it has to be a free agent because anybody in AEW is not going to be reaching out on their own, and nobody from WWE is going to be reaching out. So I don't really know who's out there. I mean, maybe Killer Cross, maybe.
It could have been Killer. It could have been the Bishop, the Dark Wolf, Bishop Breyer or whatever his name is.
What that could be because he was rumored for New Japan Cup, and then fans revolted, and we never heard about him coming back in. So maybe it was him.
I can tell you who it is. I know. I've got the exclusive scoop.
Oh,
yeah. Nobody knows this, but it was one NWA representative, Brian Idol.
Get out of here. Oh man, no, Brian Idol will never come anywhere close to a New Japan ring.
Why? He's like Timu Kenny Omega, you know? Bro, some of my absolute all-time favorite wrestling fandom moments at live shows is watching Bryan Idol wrestle for all the wrong reasons. Just like the idea that, I'm sorry, I know I'm talking shit, but the idea that this dude has a wrestling school here is so preposterous. Like 2 times that I know for a fact that we have popped the boys as fans. One was at NWA, when we were like literally belligerently laughing at the spots that he was blowing during that TV taping in Tampa. And I've heard from people that were like, cause we're not that far from the door. And like, there's people in the hallway just fucking dying because of how hard we were laughing every single time he fucked up a spot. But the other time was that time that he wrestled at the Orpheum. He wrestled John fucking Davis.
Yes.
And John Davis, like, if you guys don't know John Davis, he's like from the back in the day, the ROH and Evolve and AAW and what's the company that we had here?
FIP.
Yeah, FIP. And this was in FIP, but not like, it's not Bryan Danielson and like Roderick Strong's FIP. It's like the modern FIP. But anyways, John Davis just killed this dude. He just bludgeoned him, and we were dying laughing and like making the loudest noises. And I remember I talked to wrestlers about this that I've trained with that were there that night, that were up in like the Eagle's Nest watching, and they were dying. Everybody was, because bro, nobody likes this dude. He's the biggest fucking douchebag. Like everybody in the state, he's the worst. He's a horrible human being too. Just saying. But I heard it was him.
What was his manager's name again? The dude that was in charge of the Heartthrob Express, and he'd be like, Brian, oh my God, Idol.
That's what's his face? Something Davis.
Yeah, I forget what his name.
He's great. Everyone loves him.
Yeah.
Everybody in the state loves him. But anyways, moving on. New Japan has announced the schedule for Fantasticmania 2026, along with CMLL wrestlers that will be appearing. The tour will take place from February 18th to the 27th. The following talent from CMLL will be competing on the tour. So we got Mystico. Should I do it like the lady during Mystico? Dun, 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 dun. Mascara Dorada, Teton, Atlantis Jr., Templario, Stigma, Ultimo Guerrero, Hechicero, Averno, Soberano Jr., Okamura, Magnus, Futuro, Valiente Jr., and Hijo de Stuka Jr.
Solid lineup.
Where's the heavyweight champion of the world, Gran Guerrero? That's what I want to know.
Well, we'll see if he is the champion come this tour.
Well, he just retained against Black Taurus. I want to see that match.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
I think Hobbs is going to be challenging him.
Oh, no, fuck that.
Well, that's going to do it for the news. So we've got a few questions here, and then we'll head out of here. So from Make Way for Slide, any thoughts on the weird situation with Naito, his manager in WXW? It sounds like the issue has now been resolved, and Naito will be appearing in WXW, but the manager made quite a mess of things.
So I heard a little bit about it. Clearly, there's people who know a lot more about it than me because they're making all these insidery comments. And like, I'll be honest with you, like, I don't really give a fuck about what's going on with Naito and Bushi outside of New Japan. Like, but apparently there was a company that he started, and it was ran by somebody, Mr. X, who knows, a business manager. I don't even know. This sounds like some work bullshit. I don't even know if there's a real
grifter.
Yeah. But apparently there was a lot of misinformation that was cross-wired between the company and, the companies that Bushi and Naito were booked to work for, including WXW. And it was bad. And apparently, like, Naito is dissolving that company and starting a new company so that they can do whatever the fuck it is that they're doing. And we're not talking about like a wrestling company. We're talking about like a booking, I don't know too much about business in Japan, so I don't know how all that works, but I assume it's something similar to like in the States where we have like LLCs and things like
agency, some kind of agency or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard there was like visa issues and he was going to have to cancel, but I guess it got worked out and he's still going to be a part of the WXW. I think he's going to be in the 16 karat gold tournament, I think.
People are making fun of, I've heard about like insiders and wrestlers in the country talking about like Naito's broke. So I don't know what the deal is there.
Yeah. Next question here from No Community 6031. Will Kazuchika Okada versus Hiroshi Tanahashi or Konosuke Takeshita versus Yota Tsuji main event Wrestle Kingdom?
I'm firmly in the Tanahashi Okada camp at this point.
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard to follow up the Tanahashi retirement moment. So
I'm pretty sure this will be the match that has main evented the Tokyo Dome more times. I mean, I don't know that off the top of my head, but I'm like 95% confident that there's never been another match that headlined the Dome 4 times.
Yeah. Next question from Plastic Soil 9249. Do you think CMLL and NJPW partnership also has somewhat of a factor for Nakamura versus Tanahashi not happening due to WWE buying AAA plus the BS wrestling shit show that is AEW versus WWE? With all that combined, do you think it was a no-win situation for Tanahashi and Nakamura ever happening in NJPW because things outside of Tanahashi's control?
I don't think that is impossible to have been the case. You always want to consider that sort of thing because it probably could have played a role. But I was never told that. I never heard that. And I definitely don't think it was a no-win situation where this couldn't have happened.
Yeah, I don't think the CMLL partnership, like it probably was a small factor, but I don't think that would have been really brought up here. I think the core issue was like AEW versus WWE was the core issue.
Mm-hmm.
Next question from Will Sing 1988. Any news on Jake Lee?
No, and I don't even know. I don't know that we're who you'd want to go to for news.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything. And man, it's like Jake Lee and Jay White are the two people that people just keep asking when are they going to come back from injury.
Is Jay White out?
Yeah, he's been out for like a year.
Bro, I wouldn't know. He wrestles for AEW, bro.
Next question from Odd Job says, how do you feel about the competition in the talent training pipelines picking up with the Ops Dojo being established?
Is this a real dojo or is this a gimmick?
Yeah, so Joe showed up with like 20 dudes and they all had Ops Dojo shirts on Sunday.
But are they going to actually have a training school or anything?
No, I think this is part to kind of, build the ops up and make Joe part
I don't even know who's in the ops, bro. I didn't even know what the ops even meant and I'm still not totally sure.
Opposition,
I felt like it had a second meaning that was deeper that I don't know about.
I think that was pretty much it. So yeah, Joe, Shibata, Hobbs, and Hook. And they got the Ops Dojo backing them up now. So last set of questions here from Death Triangle 720. Who do you think could have the Saya Kamatani treatment in the current crop of the roster? Saya Kamatani went from likable babyface talent to top star and draw of stardom in the span of a year with a character change and presentation.
Yuya Uemura.
Yeah, I would go with Tsuji. I feel like he's kind of in the right path. I think a few more tweaks and he could potentially get to that spot of being where Kamatani is.
Maybe, but I say Yuya Uemura.
Here's another question: do you think it's time New Japan changes the format of their main event of their main shows? New Japan format for their shows haven't really changed much over the decade. Could a change of their presentation be something they should think of next year?
That's kind of true, but like during the pandemic era, we saw changes. It hasn't always been exactly the same, and even the booking philosophy surrounding the structure of the and I'm guessing based on the way he asked this question, it sounds more like he's talking about the structure of the calendar more so than the structure of the shows themselves.
Yeah.
Because if we're talking about the structure of the shows themselves, they've like never changed. They've been basically the same since 1972. But when you say like for the past decade, that sounds more like we're talking about the calendar.
The flow of the year.
Mm-hmm. You know what? Here's one thing that's really interesting. And I kind of got a glimpse of this doing the Tanahashi series. He talked about the first year that they instituted the right to challenge contract for the Tokyo Dome. And I don't know if it really was Okada who came up with the idea, but in kayfabe, he's the one that introduced it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Tanahashi kind of alluded to the idea that it was his idea. Again, I don't know if he's keeping kayfabe or whatever, but he did bring up one really good point. And his point was in other years prior to that, and we're kind of going back to this now, right? Where the challenger didn't always necessarily go to the January 4th Tokyo Dome show and challenge. Sometimes they would challenge prior to that. It could be detrimental to the company and to the G1 as a whole when that challenger challenges in October and immediately fails.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't seen that happen yet. In both instances where they've done this, the challenger won. But what about the next time they do it and the challenger is Yota Tsuji, let's say, assuming he hasn't held the belt by that point, but let's assume that he wins the G1 and then he loses to like Goto or somebody in October. How is that going to do to like take the wind out of somebody's sails? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he mentioned, like, for instance, in Okada's situation that first year, Okada, in fact, bro, it took so, like, I didn't realize this until recently, but like the right to challenge winner almost always kept their briefcase all the way to the Tokyo Dome. But it wasn't until Tanahashi won the G1 in 2015 that he turned around and won the title in the Tokyo Dome. Prior to that, every single challenger who had won the G1 and gone to the Tokyo Dome, they all failed in their attempt to win the title. And it's not as noticeable because they had that buffer of 2 to 3 big matches leading into the Dome where it kind of helped buffer the rest of the calendar year. And then by the time they get to the Dome, they're a little bit more established. They have some more reps. They've worked big matches. And then if they do win or lose, there's enough time between the G1 win and that potential big loss where it's not as impactful necessarily or as detrimental.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, we've talked about this many times before. Like it did become a crutch and a trope where like nobody could win that briefcase and then not also go to the Tokyo Dome. And the one time they did it led to the double gold dash.
Yeah.
So it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. But when he pointed out, he was like, yeah, when someone like Nakanishi wins in 99 and then they turn around and they lose right away, you're like, fuck, why did we even do the G1? This person can't even beat the champion, you know?
Yeah.
So yes, that was a long way of saying like, maybe they should consider making some changes, but also sometimes not. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of wish like World Tag League could find a different part of the year. So like you could have like, some other tours that build up more towards Wrestle Kingdom, but I really don't know where else you would put it in the calendar year.
I'm ready for the actual presentation of the company. Not necessarily like you don't have to change the calendar, but I'm ready for them to make tweaks to what they do. For instance, like this is something that they got away from that I thought was so incredible back in the day is big title matches at the end of the match. Instead of just having like one little teeny tiny sponsor trophy and then, you know, getting the confetti, they used to have like flower ceremonies and all of these big trophies and the photo session
checks
and the giant checks. And it was like, they don't do that stuff. And whether it was real or not, like that added so much, it felt big, even though they were doing worse business when they used to do that at times, the match itself felt like, oh my God, this dude's on top of the industry. Like, this is the industry leader.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they need to go back to that, but I do think that freshening up the way they present the brand and doing other things that are just different than what they've done in the past. I'm not saying radically different. I'm talking about little tweaks, stuff like that might just freshen things up a little bit.
I mean, even their graphics, I mean, a lot of their shows have the same logo for the last decade, the same, each show has the same theme music it's had for the last decade. So I feel like some little just like production tweaks like that, yeah, you can make it feel fresher, newer. The match graphics, like I love Noah's like graphics that they do for the entrances and in the middle of the match. Like I think there's little things they could do to improve the production.
Yeah, I agree.
Then his last question: do you think a issue with the faction resets potentially next year could be the lack of fresh faces or matchups?
I disagree with that because I don't think that matters if you are finding good creative behind the characters themselves. And what I mean by that is you can do a match between two guys that have wrestled a million times, but if they're a new character with new attitudes, new motivations, new looks, new moves, it's a whole different story. And in fact, you can build upon the groundwork that was laid before and tell a new story with the same guys, but that requires change. You have to be willing to change the characters.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen all throughout wrestling history that, you know, good bookers could capitalize on that and change a character and use that history of an opponent to kind of tell a new story. And so I think there are plenty of guys in New Japan that if they change factions or got a fresh look, it would be very compelling. There's some interesting stories you could tell with people in some different alignments or different factions or just different stories.
I agree. Just like Warrior and Hogan in 1998, you know, same match, different outcome, different stories, different guys. Really good.
Well, well, that's it for the questions. So next week we'll be back to review nights 4 through 8 of World Tag League and cover all the latest news. Remember, if you want to watch our show live or listen without ads, you can sign up at patreon.com/KI Strong Style. You can also make a donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate. Click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure to connect with us on social media on X and Blue Sky. Follow us at KI Strong Style, at Social Suplex, at Jeremy L. Donovan, and at YB_Josh and Liger. On Facebook, follow us at facebook.com/Social Suplex. On Reddit, on the Pro Black Guy, also Keeping It Strong Style. On YouTube, we are at Social Suplex, and join our Social Suplex Discord server to interact with us and other wrestling fans. And you can email me, jeremy@socialsuplex.com. Check out all the other shows that we have here on the network. One Nation Radio, hosted by Rich Latta and James Boyd. All Things Elite with Floyd and Austin. Imp's AEW Adventure with MK and Matthew Mayer. Wrestling Art with Chris Slings. Tunnel Talk with Ali and Leah. And the Trish and Sarah Wrestling Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review. And we'll catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
It's a bum.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.